What is keeping you from doing something that you want in life? What is stopping you? Today, we're going to explore that. What is stopping you from doing what you want? So here is a simple exercise. Write down on a piece of paper in the very center, write down what is it that you want. It could be a new job, graduate from high school, graduate from college, go to grad school, find a good relationship, have a better relationship with your kids. It might be something that's not so positive, like ending a relationship, getting a divorce, things like that, dropping a friend, something of that nature. So write it in the center of the piece of paper. Now, on the top, write an arrow going up to something and write what are the skills that you have to make this happen, and what knowledge do you know to make this happen. For example, let's take something that's not so positive, like a divorce. What are the reasons why you would do that? What would be the outcomes? So your arrow would be freedom, maybe. Maybe an arrow going up would be not being controlled anymore. Maybe an arrow going up would be being able to do things you want to do in life rather than feeling like someone's holding you back. Whatever it might be. What are the positives to the decision if you made it? Below, put an arrow going up and down, both ways. And then right at the bottom, what are the reasons or the thoughts or the emotions that lead you to wanting to make this decision? Is it unhappiness? Is it wanting to grow? Is it another person that you're more interested in? Is it boredom? Is it fear? What is it? What is it? Write down like all the reasons why this would be a good answer. Once you have all those reasons, again, write a double arrow. An arrow with two can go back and forth. And then underneath that, write what is the reason behind those? Like, what led to that decision? What led to that emotion or reason for the decision? What led to that? Was it a particular incident that happened? Multiple incidents that happened? Was it some belief that you have? What is it? Write that down and continue on that way with the arrows. You might have to tape another piece of paper on the bottom and just continue to go with these double arrows of what would happen. What is the reason for the thing above it? And the double arrows exist because you go back and forth between those things. Like it might be anger that drove you to a decision. But where did the anger come from? It came from somebody trying to control you. Well, someone trying to control you and anger, that goes back and forth, right? It feeds on itself. The emotion you have from the belief system that you have goes back and forth. So the same would be true for all those things. But you could even put a double arrow going to all these things because they all go back and forth, right? So you have your decision in the middle. You have these things below that kind of starts to look like a pyramid of this happened, and then that happened, and then that happened, and then this emotion happened, and then that led to this decision. And you're kind of going back and forth because if you haven't made the decision yet, you're going back and forth between all these reasons and emotions and thoughts and beliefs that you have for the decision. Now let's look at the top a little bit more closely. So you have this decision, say, you want to get a divorce, and your reason, one of your things you think you would get out of that decision is freedom. So what would freedom bring you? Put arrows. It can be double arrows. Again, same. And what would that freedom bring you? Would it bring you ability to go to bed whenever I want, ability to eat dinner, whatever I wanted, ability to travel because my partner doesn't like traveling, ability to do all these things? What does freedom mean to you? And write that and do the same, like continue up with that. Okay. So once you have this thing, and you'll probably continue to add to it, a new thing will happen because you're grappling with this decision. It could be something like leaving a job too. You're grappling with a decision. So what do? Or okay, if I left this job, I could get a better job with more pay. What would more pay mean? That would mean I could get a better apartment or maybe a new car. And what would that mean? Well, maybe I wouldn't have to take the bus anymore. And what would that mean? And so on. And then the same thing down before. What's leading you to the job? And do that. And just kind of create this big thought bubble about the decision that you're making. And then through that, decide, what do you think about that particular decision? When you're looking at the thing as a whole, like maybe you put that as a poster on your wall somewhere, where people don't come by a lot, so you don't have to explain it or wonder about it or worry about it. Maybe you keep it, in your journal and you unfold it and look at it every night. Maybe you add to it, refine it, what have you. And then just observe it as a whole. What does it look like as a whole? Are you really gravitating to these things on top that sound wonderful on the top of your decision once you make the decision? Or are you feeling like the things down below are maybe petty, or they were a reaction that you don't honestly really feel? And explore that and write that down. Say there's something underneath your decision that led you to the decision that you're now seeing as kind of, trite or mean or reactionary, or maybe you were just in a bad mood that day and you don't even feel that way now. Then in a different color, if you can, different color ink or pen or pencil or whatnot, write that. Circle that thing and say, this was just a day when I was having a really hard time and I made this rash decision to be mad at this when it's not really valid. That's not valid. Or maybe there's something down here in the decision-making process that is, wow, I amplified this because I am really upset that this is happening at work, and this is why I want to get a new job. This is almost out of control for me. It's a toxic environment. Everyone's mean. Everyone's always getting in trouble and backstabbing each other. Circle that with a different color and maybe write something off to the side. This is a daily occurrence. This is hurting my self-esteem. This is making me feel bad about myself, whatever it is. And maybe there's more arrows up and down about that. Like maybe there's more arrows saying, okay, it's a toxic environment and people are always trying to sabotage one another. That makes me feel like I'm not good at my job. That makes me feel, so I don't feel good about my job. Toxic environment makes me not feel good about my job. That's how I came to the realization that it was toxic. Well, what led to me not thinking I'm good at my job? I feel like I'm already struggling with feeling good about what I do and my performance. And now this is amplifying it. See, there's all these back and forth arrows that can happen in the decision-making process. And this is for a decision that you're really having a challenge with, not just, every decision that you make, although I suppose you could do it for that. But some decisions are easy and others are more challenging, So you want to kind of get that clear in your mind. And then you also want to have like, wow, if I got another job, if I quit this job and went to get another job, what if that job didn't pay as much or something like that? What are the cons, right? So you have this, you're kind of above is a pro list. Then there's the decision in the middle. Then there's all the reasons that drew you to the decision. And go a little deeper with those, like where do they really come from? What's the core that made you think that? Do you already feel like you are inadequate as an employee? And so this environment is amplifying that core belief you have about yourself, which is just your belief. It's not true. I've said this in other videos. Beliefs are not the truth. They're just something that you've decided to believe, but they are not the truth in the scope of the world, the universe, who you are as a person. They're just a belief you're deciding to give validity to. So, these are all your beliefs as to why this decision you're trying to make is important to you. Then you have this pro list up above. You can write out to the sides with double arrows on each side what a con might be. Oh, if I got divorced, I might be alone. I might have to live alone. What would that be like? I might be sad that I live by myself. Well, what could you do about that would be positive? I will get out more if I do that. So do you see, you're right, the cons are off to the side. Oh, I want to end this relationship. I might be alone. What would being alone mean to you? It would mean maybe I'm sad sometimes. What would that mean? Maybe I feel like I'm inadequate because no one will ever love me or something like that. That's the reason why I don't want to get divorced, because deep down inside, who will have me? And what could you do about that? What things could you do about that? Well, I could take this painting class I always wanted to take, or I could join a gym and I would be with other people during that time, or I could take a walk on the promenade that's always so busy and bustling with people, or I could join a group or something like that. What can you do to work on the cons? What would happen? Say I got another job and it was just as toxic as this job. Why would it be toxic? Well, maybe you get down to the root of that. Well, maybe I'm just a little too sensitive because I'm so insecure about how I do my job that I'm just so insecure. The slightest thing triggers that for me. And what would that be like? And how could I maybe look at that in a different light, or maybe realize it when it happens in the job? I take a moment to analyze, is this somebody being toxic, or is this me being hypersensitive to someone talking to me? Work on that. Try and figure that out. Where am I? So this is what we're doing. We're writing the decision in the center of the paper. Should I quit my job? I want to quit my job. And double arrows going up. What are all the things that you think would happen if you quit your job? That would be great. And what are those things? And what would those things lead to? What would more money lead to? What would, a better work environment lead to? What would working from home lead to? And then on the bottom, double arrows again. What are all the reasons that led me to this, wanting to make this choice in life? And what are the things that happened that made me think that made me come to this decision in my life, or this crossroads in my life, and so on. Go deeper and deeper and deeper. It's a toxic environment. Why do you feel it's a toxic environment? Because people are always sabotaging each other. Why are people sabotaging each other? Because there's very few promotions, and I don't feel like I'll ever get one if I don't play that game. Well, what is that? That's a conflict between my ethics at work and what's actually happening. Why do you have those ethics at work? Because I think it's important to be kind to people. That is really meaningful to me. Circle it in a different color. This is very meaningful to me. Kindness, very meaningful to me. So maybe I have to get a new job because this environment is not breeding kindness, and kindness is something I want to spread in the world. That's important. Circle it a bunch of times. If there's an irrational belief down there, or something that doesn't make sense, or something that you're only mad at in a moment and it's not really the truth, circle that in a different color and write notes about that off to the side. On the sides of your decision, or the crossroads, write the cons. What are those with double arrows? Why are those? How are those? Etc. And go with that and see how that pans out, and see if that helps you make a decision. You can even have sometimes like, I'm going to do this exercise for 2 weeks. And on this date, 2 weeks from when I do this, and I'm going to look at it every day, and every day I'm going to add and subtract and circle, and I'm going to look at this diagram and really study it. And in 2 weeks' time, I'm going to decide how important this is or not to my life, and if I really need to make this decision. Or maybe I need 4 months or 6 months or something like that. But I'm going to really work with this decision so I know I'm really making the right move. And you'll know it in your heart when you feel it. You'll be like, okay, now I'm ready to make this choice. And you'll be able to do it. You know, it helps you just clarify the cloudiness around some decisions that are hard. And the more you look at it visually, the more it just helps you define and refine what this crossroads is and why you find yourself there and what is the best thing for you to do as a human being and for you to do for your life. What really makes sense? Sometimes it takes just looking at it and writing it down and writing everything out, and the physical act of writing it down can be so helpful when you're trying to make a really hard or challenging decision. That's why, the pro and the cons list exist when making decisions. It's just really helps you clarify your feelings about it. And if your feelings are so strong that the decision gets pushed into reality, or your decision is kind of weak and you sit with it for a while and maybe you don't make a decision because you're still trying to figure out where you are in this crossroads. Maybe you think you're at a crossroads, but you're really a mile from it, and you want to do some planning or some thinking or things like that. So try this exercise, see if it works for you. I hope it does. I hope it helps you with some clarity. You can always let me know. I love to hear all of your stories. And until next time, my friend, know that I love you and I support you and I care about you. And you got this. You got this. You're doing a great job. Life can be hard sometimes, but we're all in this together. And love is everywhere. So please, my friend, take good care and good luck in this decision. Let me know how it goes.